you're in the probably in the top 2 or 3% of real estate agents out there. So
Correct.
what do you attribute that success to?
As a professional athlete, I had to show up at a certain time. I had to perform the basics consistently. And if I wasn't doing what I said I was going to, there was going to be someone to keep me accountable. Last year, I sold about 28 million, and that was 32 properties. And that's I think I spent about a quarter of the year in the hospital. So when I heard the word Lyme disease, I looked at my doctor and I had no idea what he was talking about. I've broken probably 20 bones, had 20 surgeries. Nothing comes close to a day in my Lyme body. I quickly realized that unless I found people that could support me personally, a team, that I was going to lose everything.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Jack Bosch Show, where we talk about all things real estate, entrepreneurship, and finance. And today, I have Athena Brownson here with me, who is a very successful real estate investor and leader of a large real estate agent team in Denver, Colorado. So we're going to talk about listing properties, we're going to talk investing, and I think we have a feeling we're going to talk about health too, because she has something very much in common with Michelle that many of you guys know, perhaps not know, but I'll let the cat out of the bag in a little bit. So with that said, welcome Athena. How are you?
Jack, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I love that little intro cat in the bag that you gave us. I think there's going to be a lot of amazing things that come from this conversation. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So you are a real estate agent running a sizable team in Denver, Colorado. So tell us about what exactly are you focusing on? What do you typically do? And how is it going right now with interest rates sky high and everything around there?
Oh man, the last couple of years, I would say, have been what I would consider whiplash. Every time we think that we're getting in, a groove, I would say the Fed changes something, raises rates, or the stock market tumbles, whatever it may be. So it's been a very up and down ride. But I think the best things in life actually come from the most difficult seasons of our lives. And it's when we're facing adversity, whether it be a very difficult real estate market or losing a job or battling a health issue, or struggling through a real estate transaction, because I think I'm not alone in saying that I've had my license for about 10 years now. I grew up in a family of real estate developers. Never in a million years did I expect to be in real estate, and it's by far the best thing that's ever happened to me. But I think we can also so I was actually a professional skier in my last life.
All right. Okay.
So I went from skiing about 300 to 320 days a year for
Wow.
12 years to finishing up university, college, went into interior design for about a year and a half, and realized that as an athlete, and especially as a one-man athlete, skiing is not necessarily a team sport. I needed to be an entrepreneur. I needed to be in charge of my own success and work at something a little bit psychotically. I think you have to have a little bit of a psychosis to want to be in the world of real estate, because it's very fast paced, but I wouldn't change it for anything.
To be in any kind of business, you got to be a little psychotic, but
it's true.
But again, it's also, I wouldn't change it for the world, but yeah.
Same. There's honestly, 10 years in, and I can say, even though the last 3 years have been, some of the more challenging years, I every single day, I'm that corny person that will say, I love my job more and more all of the time. And that's true. And it's because, when we are faced with markets that are fast paced and everything's flying off the shelf, we learn one set of skills, and that's really managing communication, being able to present multiple offers, being able to find deals for your investors in a market that really doesn't have very many deals. I mean, nothing happens on the MLS, as you know. So from that to, a very slow paced, more of a buyer's market where listings are sitting, I think the average days on market for the month of March in Denver was 49. We used to be around like 3 days on market would be a good average. So, we're faced with a whole different set of adversity, and I really believe it's not when you don't look back in life at when everything was going perfectly smooth and think, wow, I really grew as a person or as a broker or as an investor. I really learned so much. It's when things are, extremely challenging, when we're faced with much more tension within what we're doing. I think everyone is doing business a little bit more out of like a fear-based mindset right now. That doesn't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily make it fun, but it also causes you to be creative, and it teaches you to look outside the box. And I think that's the greatest gift that the last few years have given myself and those I know, at least.
Yeah, I would agree with that absolutely. And the good news is that with 41 days or 49 days on the market,
Mhm.
whichever one of the two, we're still in a good market, right? We're still in a good
Exactly.
market because I remember 20 something years ago, or I actually have a real estate license too, but I just don't use it. I've never
Yeah.
represented anyone, never listed a house. I don't know. I barely know how to log into the MLS. And
No one
actually, I
does.
don't right now. I need to get Sarah, one of my team members, to help me log on. And I currently don't even know if I have a log on, but I simply use it so that we can sell some of our land through it, which we've bought
Yeah,
land. But I don't put it there. I just give somebody, one of the team members, access to that, post it there. Or most importantly, for me to represent myself when I get into some investment properties and therefore save a bunch of commission.
exactly.
But just for disclosure purposes, I want to make sure
Yeah,
that I
no,
mention.
I'm
Right? You
very
got to disclose that.
curious.
That's the first contact. Uh, so with that said, though, I remember when I got my license, which is about 18, 20 years ago or so, interest rates, like days on market was like 80, 90 days, and that was
Yeah, that
normal.
was normal, right?
3 months on market is kind of normal. And so 40 something days is still in a good situation.
You're so
But of
right.
course, we all want the world back where you list something, you get 3 days later multiple offers. So that's just not a
There's pluses
sustainable
in my,
world, right?
exactly. The reason that we're here is because interest rates probably should have never been in the twos. And, it's very difficult as a advisor. I like to think of myself more so as an advisor that's helping make, one of the biggest choices, one of the biggest investments in someone's life, whether it's their first home or their 15th rental property. These are huge sums of money. And when we are
Yeah.
going up against multiple offers, advising my clients to that they have to go 100,000 over asking in order to win a property is not something that aligns with my belief system. So I agree with you. We're in a very healthy market at 49 days. And I think it's all about setting expectations. We got very spoiled by very quick turnaround. And now we are where we are. And it's still, things are still moving. And that's all you could ask for.
Yeah, exactly right. And so you said you run a sizable team. So how many team members do you have right now, and how many properties a year do you sell? Or yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So I get sizable, I would say There are much bigger teams, of course. I
Of
work with
course.
a company called Compass, but I have an operations manager and a TC myself, along with a buyer's agent. So those are three that are for me individually, and then I have four other full-time agents. So
Okay, cool. And
we're very picky, and just because our culture is so good, I have no intention of growing a massive team, but just a very quality one.
yeah. And so how many units a year do you sell? How many
Oh,
properties?
yes. So last year I sold about 28 million, and that
Nice.
was 32 properties.
Okay, very
And that's
cool.
while, I think I spent about a quarter of the year in the hospital. So,
Yeah.
not
We'll get
bad.
to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to the hospital thing in a second.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to that is I didn't mean to like ask a question to check on you or something like that.
No,
Not
yeah.
at all. But on the contrary, this is wonderful to sell as many properties in a somewhat more difficult market. And my main question around this, like I recently heard a statistic, and don't hold me to it, that said 70 something percent of realtors don't sell a single house per
You're
year. And
correct.
then another 20 something, 94% of them total don't sell more than two or three houses a year. So
Yep.
automatically, with a number of 30 something, you're probably in the one top 2 or 3% of realtors out, real estate agents out there. So
Correct.
what do you attribute that success to?
So, coming from an athletic background, I never realized the life skills, the business school, so to speak, that my coaches were teaching me. Because when as a professional athlete, I had to show up at a certain time. I had to perform the basics consistently. And if I wasn't doing what I said I was going to, there was going to be someone to keep me accountable, and I was probably going to end up hiking the mountain that day. So, unknowingly, these life skills, which I believe have also really been what has pushed me through the last 9 years, which we'll get into, showed me the importance of coaching, mentorship, and really who you're surrounding yourself with. So for me, right when I, began real estate 10 years ago, for the first year, I found the most incredible mentor, and I followed every move he did. I went to his showings with him. I listened in on calls. I did market analysis with him, and eventually
Great
when
things, yeah.
you have, the value of mentorship and apprenticeship is something that I think is often overlooked, but is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. From that, from my first year when I had kind of done as much mentoring under my boss at the time, or the owner of my company, I realized that I should probably find a coach that I aligned with. So I went through, interviewing with multiple different coaching programs. And over the last, 9 years, I've worked with six big coaching programs. And I'm a firm believer in either coaching or mentorship, because as humans in general, and especially in the world of real estate, it's so easy to be distracted by all of the shiny objects. There's always 1,000 things going on. People always need everything from you. And if you don't have some type of structure that is helping you to just implement the basics very well, which is what my coaches taught me. And two, a coach that can look over your business and help you see where you're maybe falling short, where your blind spots are. But what I found through coaching is that if you implement the basics very well, and I think this works for, not just real estate, it can be anything in life. And you hold yourself accountable to getting certain activities done every day. For me, I follow what's called a greatness tracker. And basically, it's an Excel spreadsheet, and it has, Monday through Sunday, how many phone calls am I making? How many face-to-face meetings do I have? How many properties am I getting under contract? How many open houses am I doing? How many, breaking breads or meals am I doing? So how am I staying in relationship with people? But it's keeping me accountable because every time I have one of these, I check it off my greatness tracker. And I find that if I do the um, basics very well and very consistently, then I take a business that tends to have huge ebbs and flows in it, and it helps make it more consistent. And you don't see, you start to see more of an upward trend, but it's so easy to fall victim to, all of the new, every day I encounter a different app for real estate or a different idea. And I think that there's no such thing as an overnight success. It really does mean, like, if you're deciding you're going to farm a neighborhood, looking for off-market properties that you can, present an offer on, for instance, you should expect that you're probably going to have to hit that neighborhood for about a year before you're going to start seeing any traction. And I think a lot of times we fall short, especially in our, instant gratification culture, where we expect things to, instantly happen. And why am I not getting this business? I just sent this out, or I just did this activity. But unless you're doing those activities consistently for a long period of time, it's not going to show you the benefits of it. And that, I think, is where, we have succeeded as a team, but I give all the credit to my coaches for helping with that.
That's very nice. That's very good. And I agree with everything you said. So, like greatness tracker, what is that? Is
Yeah.
that like an app, or is it a tool? Or is it a booklet, or is that?
It's something I could even send to you.
Okay.
It is a simple Excel spreadsheet that I'm, actually the head of an old coaching program made. But it takes you through, your columns are Monday through Sunday. And then I always say, it's really easy to say you're going to do certain activities, but unless those activities are something that align with who you are and what you like to do, you're not going to do them. So for me, my greatness tracker on the left hand side, it will have, okay, how many times that week did I sit down and have coffee with someone and catch up? How many phone calls did I make per day? And it has different theme days, like past clients on like my whales, cold calls, the list goes on through Monday through Sunday. So how many calls am I making? And then it's am I doing at least 2 open houses a week? I check them off. So you can really customize it according to what are the things that that if you do consistently that you're good at, that you'll find success. So that's where I like the idea of a greatness tracker, a simple Excel spreadsheet where you're just able to check off the activities that you're supposed to do every day and that you are doing every day, but making sure that it aligns with who you are. Because if you're someone that hates making, 10 phone calls a day, then you should probably find something to fill that spot. Are you sending 10 handwritten notes? Are you farming a neighborhood and knocking on doors? Like, what is it that works for you, and how do you best connect with people? And then put that on your greatness tracker. I also put my health items there. So, am I going to the gym a certain number of times a week? Am I eating clean and drinking enough water? Am I taking my supplements? Am I doing my hyperbaric chamber therapy? Am I doing red light therapy? It really is a great tool. And again, I can send you this, so you're welcome to share with the
Yeah,
listeners.
I love that. Yes,
It's
absolutely.
such a good tool for keeping you on track to get the basics done.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Now, you mentioned something and obviously in the pre-interview we talked about that a little bit, that you actually had a pretty, or still have a uh, pretty severe health condition, which I know a lot about. because my wife Michelle suffers from the same health condition. Tell us
Yeah.
about that. So what happened there? How did you discover it? What do you have? And so
Yeah.
tell us a little bit. And how does it play into, how did you reinvent yourself with that and through that and out of that?
Reinvent is a perfect word. So when I was about 2.5 years into real estate, my real estate career, it's right when you feel like things are starting to move, you have the hang of it, you have leads coming in, your business is going well. I was still in shape as a professional athlete, running 26 miles a week, lifting 4 days a week. And unfortunately, I needed to go in for my second neck surgery. Broke my neck skiing, just needed to have another synthetic disc put in my neck. Well, when I was recovering from neck surgery, I started getting all of these very strange ailments that were not normal for a young, healthy adult. I was getting, on top of, horrific fatigue and brain fog, joint pain. I was getting a lot of GI infections. So, like, I got E. coli, H. pylori, you name it. Like, my gut was just showing up with all of these different issues. And I'm extremely fortunate because when I heard the word Lyme disease, I looked at my doctor and I had no idea what he was talking about. But it was, the first doctor that I went to knew what Lyme disease was and was Lyme literate. Now that's
Wow. Yes.
extremely rare because what Lyme disease does, so first of all, you get it by being bit by a tick. I have absolutely no idea when I was bit. I've never even seen a tick. My guess, based on the co-infections that I got from the same tick with Lyme disease, is that I contracted it while I was working in Uganda. I lived and worked on a farm for a year teaching sustainability. And I was getting bit by things all the time. But I never once saw a tick, but that's where I'm guessing. And my life so quickly went from being a 23-year-old healthy, athlete that was starting to get to the top of my game in real estate to, within 4 to 5 months, barely being able to get out of bed. And I had no knowledge of what Lyme disease was or what was happening in my body. And I really started to dive into research and found that Lyme basically attacks whatever you're genetically predisposed to. So it shows up differently in different people, as I'm sure you know. And I'd love to hear more about your wife, and my heart breaks for her because it's I've broken probably 20 bones, had 20 surgeries. Nothing comes close to a day in my Lyme body.
No,
Um,
I totally get it. Totally
it's
understand. Like,
horrific.
again, Michelle, my wife, we also don't know where she got bitten. She's a Honduran girl from the beach, right? So
Okay.
there's no
Yeah.
Lyme disease really in that much in Honduras. And so we're thinking probably while she was in college in Illinois, she was probably went somewhere there outside on a walk and a hike to the river or something like that.
Yeah.
And somebody must have bitten her there. But then the thing is, um, it didn't express itself at all. It stayed kind of dormant. So there's like
Same.
if you catch Lyme disease, if you get bitten by a tick and you see it, please, if you listen to this, go get yourself doxycycline for 60
Doxycycline.
days. Not for
Yes.
30 days, get it to
60.
60 days, right?
Thank you for
And
saying
take
that,
it
Jack.
diligently, even if you have no symptoms whatsoever. Because it's
Lyme
very
disease will
possible
ruin your
otherwise.
life.
Pardon?
I said Lyme disease can ruin your life.
Yeah,
Take the
can ruin you absolutely.
doxycycline.
Yeah, if you don't notice it and you
Yeah.
don't get the bullseye rash, what happens is a lot of times you just don't notice it, and in some cases, it never shows up until you often have some traumatic kind of medical kind of thing. In your case, when you mentioned you have the second neck surgery, I knew what was
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
Michelle, in her case, did the birth of our daughter
Yep.
with a C-section and some complications. And ever since, she never really went back to her old self, but she still wasn't bad. So for about
Yeah.
14, 13, 12, 10, 12 years, she was just like, I don't feel myself. I think, what is this? Is this thing? But she was still
Yeah.
functional, probably at 80, 90% of what she was before. But and then COVID hit, and she contracted COVID, and COVID itself went away after 3 days. Wasn't a big deal, but then it went downhill. So right afterwards, it went downhill.
Yeah.
And to the degree that for a couple of years, like 2021 and 2022, she basically cooperated our business from bed. So
Yeah.
like and you know what it feels like, you show up somewhere, you can put it together for a couple of hours, go to a
Oh,
dinner, go
yeah.
to a show. I think everyone thinks it's all fine. The moment you come home, you go to bed and you don't leave the bed for the next 24 hours because you can't
Can't
function anymore.
move.
And
Yeah.
that's essentially how she was. And we did also a lot of research, and we finally, actually, that's a research I can recommend to you.
Yeah.
We finally found a doctor in Germany that actually can cure Lyme disease.
Is it
Um,
the,
and
yeah, I
and
would love to
and he
connect on
is
that.
and he is a doctor that is a medical doctor, comes from research, is
Hmm.
professor at the university. So, and he's taken a strategy from the cancer research and from the cancer treatment, not cure, cancer
Yeah.
treatment, which is called insulin potentiation therapy, where he basically gives you intravenously antibiotics, which a lot of other people do too. But
Hmm.
the problem is that when you give intravenous antibiotics, these this virus, this Lyme virus, sits a lot in your joints in places where there's not a lot of blood flow.
And it
So you can
creates
take
that
as much antibiotics
biofilm.
as you want, but they
Yeah.
sit in your cells. They also penetrate the cells, and you can
Hmm.
take as much antibiotics as you want. If they don't enter every single nook and cranny of your body and every single joint or every single cell,
Yeah.
you'll just your load goes lower. The moment you stop, it comes back up.
Yeah.
Comes back up, right? You know all of that.
Exactly.
So what this guy figured out is that if you give somebody insulin before you give them the antibiotics, it drops your blood sugar massively. That opens the cell walls because the cells are ready to take
They
nutrients
need,
in.
yeah, they
And
need
at
sugar.
that point of time, you give the antibiotics and they actually enter the cells and you can eradicate the thing.
That's
Michelle's problem
brilliant.
is he has cured tons of people.
Yeah.
Michelle's problems is that her veins are so small and so thin that we couldn't get enough treatments in her because it's usually a 6 to 8 week treatment, 5 times a week.
Yeah.
And she would only be able to get like 2, 3 treatments a week. And so we were able to she shot back. She went from like almost bedridden to bouncing off the walls, running around, being
Wow.
mostly functional again, but it wasn't cured.
Yeah.
So the other way around that is to get a port.
I have a
And when you
port.
get a
I have
port,
2 ports.
then you can actually get eradicated in 6 to 8 weeks. You can
I'll
get
have
rid
to
of
get
it,
that info from you
and
because
I'll be happy to send
wow.
it to you. And anyone who wants to, please hit me up on Facebook, send me a direct
Yeah.
message, or Instagram a direct message. I answer my own messages. So if you listen to that and you have somebody know somebody, I'm not financially compensated by recommending Dr. Renz is his name, Wolfgang Renz in Germany for this. And the last thing I heard from him is that he's opening a clinic in the United States, somewhere in Washington.
Wow.
So now we're looking at for her getting Michelle a port, getting her
Yeah.
up there, getting her through another 6 weeks of this, and hopefully we get rid of that. I have friends who have had it. They went there. One guy, or actually, who had the similar treatment just with somebody else and got rid of it, 100% eradicated. So
I'll
there's a
come
way
meet
around
her.
it.
Yeah.
There's a way
And
around it, but in absence of that, it's a lifelong, you have good days, bad days, everything hurts, jointed, brain fog. It's a completely debilitating kind of thing. And the fun thing, the strange thing is that many people don't even know this. Like, I'm
yeah.
actually positive on Lyme too. I have Lyme disease, but
Yeah.
I'm fully functional. I have
Yeah.
no symptom. But it's very possible that something happens. I need a surgery. I need something. And my immune system goes down. That stuff just blooms
Mhm.
up and end of story. And then I'm in the same situation as you and Michelle. So we're
Yeah.
both looking to eradicate it, for it to be completely gone. At least
Definitely.
at this point, I'm not in a place
Symptomatic.
where like where I feel any effects from it. But it's probably one of the worst things that I can think of because there's no cure for it except for that one guy now. And most doctors don't understand what it is. So you're extremely lucky having found your first doctor telling you what it
Yeah.
was. We went through like a whole bunch of different doctors, and finally, through a friend of
Yeah.
mine that recommended a cancer test, that cancer test came with another test with a deep blood panel, and all of a sudden in there was the Lyme markers. And
Oriella.
we started
Hmm.
realizing, and we looked at the symptoms. We're like, oh my God, she has every single one. And
And it's
yeah,
crazy. It's the fastest growing epidemic in the country in the United States.
hundreds
And
of thousands of people get bitten every year, particularly in the Northeast. It's like
and
it's
no
crazy.
doctors know anything about it.
Yeah,
It's absolutely, the number of times I've been told that it was a psychiatric issue in my head is,
yeah. Your chronic
I'm like,
fatigue thing.
I don't want
I
to
mean, when I
feel
talk,
this way.
yeah, when we talk to Dr. Renz in Germany, sometimes we became friends over time. We have a
Yeah.
unique combination. He's German, I'm German,
Yeah.
Michelle. So basically, we could. He speaks perfect English, but it kind of gave
Gosh,
us a
just
little bit
scooch.
more connection. So we became friends over time, and he is treating even people with that come with MS, multiple sclerosis symptoms, and he basically, and many people have MS, but
Yeah,
some people
exactly.
some people have MS symptoms, but it's actually
Yeah.
Lyme disease.
A lot of time.
Like some people,
Rheumatoid
like there's one lady we
arthritis.
met there, she was completely paralyzed, couldn't move her body, could only move her left arm. And
Yeah.
then by the time we left, she was running around.
That is so
It's
incredible to
it's pretty
hear.
incredible what he's doing there. So again,
Yeah,
my message is if you have somebody that has like brain fog, fatigue, chronic fatigue, things like that, go get yourself a Lyme test, a good Lyme
yes.
test. Go
Yeah,
to like a functional doctor, get this really tested, find a Lyme literate doctor, as you said, get it
exactly.
tested to see if that's not what you potentially have. Because, and then there's naturopaths and other doctors, functional doctors, they can help you keep it down for the time being. Or, as I said, there's one doctor that I know that can actually
Mhm.
potentially eradicate it. With
Yeah.
that
And there
said,
was, yeah.
no, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say there was a time in my career, I was writing $1 million contracts, but had become so sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies. So using the phone, using the computer, I couldn't even step inside of a house, a grocery store. I was living in a RV that wasn't connected to any electricity or Wi-Fi. And when I did need to write like a contract, I would put on lead gloves and a lead blanket before writing it. Otherwise, I would get such bad electrical burns up my hands and on my chest that they would just start gushing blood. So
Oh, that
like
is crazy.
it's a very rare case of what can happen, but it really, it's no joke.
Yeah, it's no joke, and I'm glad you're feeling better. And so now let's go talk about the path to recovery and the
Yeah,
path to reinventing yourself. How does that go? Because first of all, my
absolutely.
my my deepest respect for what you have gone through. My
Yeah.
like, because you look at you, you're here, successful team, running things, and so
Yeah,
so this is really a message to everyone out there that you can overcome really horrible things. And if people think Lyme
it's
is not
true.
horrible, look up some Facebook groups and join them and look at the people. There's people groups with 20, 30, 300,000 people in there that are
Yeah,
basically saying, what am I going to do? I'm about to jump off a roof because I can't stand this situation anymore. I can't stand my life as it is
it's
anymore.
unbearable.
So there's some brutal stories. We're blessed that we can
Yeah.
have the financial means to go get the treatments and get the best doctors in the world, but not everyone does.
It's so true. And it's something that I never in a million years could have imagined that it was possible to feel this bad. And it took I think it's important to understand that anytime we're facing adversity, we live kind of in a culture of toxic positivity where it's, only think positive, everything's going to be fine. But the reality is, it's important to take some time to mourn, I had to mourn the loss of my body, having autonomy over my body and how I felt and how I was able to operate and how much energy I had. That was, I went through a period of being very angry and very sad. And like you said, I mean, people feel helpless and hopeless. But I think what really, really has become evident to me throughout this journey has been the idea of having a why. Why, what is it that gets you up in the morning? And then what are the tools? What's your toolkit? What are the things that are going to help you to get through the day? Because it really is when you're going through something, whether it's Lyme or depression or, losing your job, whatever it may be, the amount of brain, motivation and resilience and grit that it takes to simply get out of bed in the morning. I started to learn that I love my job so much, and I love that I'm able to, you know, grow honest, authentic, deep relationships with my clients that will last a lifetime. But I quickly realized that unless I found people that could support me personally, a team, that I was going to lose everything, no matter how strong-willed I was, no matter how much I loved what I did. And, I did find that, okay, if I can't get out of bed in the morning, I'm going to blast, my favorite song, or I'm going to listen to my favorite podcast. And then, every step of the day had a different, something to get me motivated. I know that if I don't do my morning and evening routine of journaling and writing affirmations and writing out my goals in the present tense, that my brain can easily go into a very dark place. But coming from, being an only child and a one-man sport, I didn't know how to delegate. I didn't understand the importance of team. I thought that I could get everything done by myself. I thought that I should be able to do everything myself. And let's face it, in the world of real estate, whatever realm you are in of it, it is there's way too much going on at all times if you're doing it full time for one person to handle anything. And it became quickly apparent that I needed to learn how to delegate and to build a team that cared about me as much as I cared about them, and that sincerely wanted me to get better and wanted to have my back, but also that I could trust to take incredible care of my clients. So when I look, and I'm very much still, I do 4 plasma transfusions a month right now. I'm doing weekly IVs. I've got 2 ports. Like, I'm by no means healed. I'm a lot better than I was, say 3, 4 years ago. But I completely believe that is because of the people that I've had around me and the support system that has helped me to get through this and help me to keep going. They help, I want to be successful so that my amazing team can be successful, and they can take care of their families, and they can, create an impact on the community through investing, through development. We've started doing some incredible development projects, and really being able to have a footprint on the city that I call home is something that's so special. But on the days that it feels, there's also times, when you're going through something, that you should listen to your body and rest. But the athlete in me generally has a hard time resting, and no matter how impossible it feels to get up and get going, I've found that why. And I've found that because I have found, different ways of keeping myself going and moving forward, that when I look back over the last, 8 years, that I don't know that I would have grown into the woman I am today had I not gone through this horrific chapter. And I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, but it truly is the most difficult times in our lives that teach us what we're made of and who we are, and also teach us our skill set of how to get through challenging things, and hopefully next time we could do so in a more graceful way. So when you look at adversity, reframing it from, why is this happening to me? Like, I quit, basically, to, okay, this sucks, definitely, but how can I make small pivots throughout my day that are going to make me a tiny bit better each day? And when I say better, I mean, looking within and finding how you can grow as an individual, because I think if we don't have the intention of waking up each day and saying, you know what, in some capacity, whatever that looks like, I'm going to try and be a little bit better than I was yesterday, because those are the lifelong lessons and the lifelong almost like muscle memory. It's creating neural pathways in your brain that are showing you that you can think in a different manner and that you can get through whatever it is that you're going through. And I think the mental aspect of adversity is often not focused on enough. And the ability that we have to mourn, but like hold space for whatever sadness is there, but also have the intention of rewiring your own brain and creating something beautiful from something very difficult is the greatest gift we could give ourselves.
Beautifully said, and again, I'm in awe and honor you for having that beautiful outlook on life, because again, I know how hard this illness is, and it's but again, with no visible cure for it, at least not to most people, and with no with just basically a management protocol of plasma transfers, this ports,
Yeah.
this. Being able to build what you've built is really, really impressive. So thank you for
Thank
sharing that
you.
with us, and congratulations,
Thank
congratulations on
you.
that. So that's really
That means a
amazing.
lot.
And if I can take it just like so, um, from so essentially what you had to do is, if I distill it down, perhaps number one, you found a really big why, right?
Yeah.
Number two,
Correct.
you found some medical help to help you be able to function again, of course, which is important. But number three, with the continuous limitations, because I assume you can't focus on something for 12 hours a day right now,
No.
as you probably were able to when you were like 20 years old,
Yeah.
and you could burn the candle on both ends. It makes 100% sense that you built a team,
Yeah.
because that's the only way. If you're bringing the strategy and the personal relationships and the energy for the lunches and the social part of it and building the relationship, then you have the team execute on it, because the team probably doesn't have that skill set that you
Yeah.
have. You have created a win-win for all of you, where they can make a good living by selling the deals that you get, and you are building that network and that relationship, and that feeds all of it, but you don't have to do all the details and so on. And that's a beautiful solution to a very challenging problem. And
Thank
again, if
you.
I can refer that back to Michelle has learned to work within her limitations that she now has, and as a result, her impact is not smaller in our business. Her impact is different.
Yeah.
She's no longer the one that
Exactly.
that runs everything and runs and is the CEO of the company and the chief marketing officer and run. No, she has stepped out of all of these positions, but she's the chief strategist and is really help guide the company and see things that are going wrong and bring them to our attention. But we are the ones implementing all the different pieces, and it's not dissimilar. Basically, the team is doing most of the work now, while she is really guiding the team in a very excellent way. And that
And I
seems to
think,
be very similar to what you have done.
yeah, and that translates really well into, any environment in which you're able to build out a team, because, we have this. I was listening to an episode of yours recently talking about understanding what your dollar per hour is. And I think his example was, if it's under $100 an hour, that what the activity that you're doing, you should probably delegate it. Well, when I was trying to accomplish everything myself, I wasn't focusing on the fact that my skill set was in certain areas and that I really excelled at certain things and that I was okay at the operations management, and I was okay at my file management and doing the back end and all my marketing, but I was doing it. But what I didn't realize was those are activities that are not considered quote unquote green activities. That's not my specialty. That's not my highest dollar per hour. But it's also, it was framed to me by a coach actually pretty recently that when I'm trying to overstep into someone else's lane almost, I'm robbing them of the chance to succeed and be empowered by what they're great at and what they excel at, because we all do have such different strengths and such and we need to understand what our own strengths are, do personality assessments, do time studies, and understand where your time is going. And I like to do like a 3 to 5 day time study once a quarter, and then I'll go through and highlight, red, yellow, and green. Red are activities I shouldn't have been doing. Yellow are activities that are most likely delegatable, but okay sometimes. And then green is where I should be focusing my time so that and by doing that, it's not only creating space for me to be able to heal, but it's creating opportunities for someone else to succeed at what they're really good at. And it's giving them the opportunity to feel empowered because they play a very specific, very special role on the team. And when you're not able to do much, when you, especially in the early days, I remember being in too much pain some days to move out of the house. It just wasn't feasible. And even then I kept trying to do it all because I didn't want to look like I was dropping the ball. But what I realized was I was dropping the ball because I wasn't taking care of myself. I would then end up, in bed for 36 hours and able to move if I pushed it too hard. But it really, really, it showed me exactly the value of team. And it showed me that if I didn't create a team, that I was going to lose my business completely. And that also meant probably losing my rental portfolio because, I didn't have the people in place at that time. I didn't have the right property managers. I didn't have the right financial advisor. Like, these are all pieces of, my quote unquote tribe that I've created out of necessity, but I believe are tools that, anyone can preemptively create that tribe in their life. Like, if you're an investor, make sure that you're interviewing property managers and find the best of the best. If you're interested in, developing, talk to interviewing builders and finding who's going to be the best of the best, because this is your support system, not just in business, but it becomes your support system in all aspects of life. And it really shows you who your people are. When you're going through it, unfortunately, you're going to lose a lot of of acquaintances, quote unquote, but it's going to show you exactly who your people are, where you should be spending your time, what activities you should work on perfecting even more, and there's room for delegation. And I don't believe that I would have learned this skill set had I not gotten sick, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes life forces us down certain paths, and eventually through our own good, for our own good, to learn certain things, because otherwise you just keep. You don't have to learn the lesson. You won't learn the lesson. Really, it's kind of like life saying, like, sucker, like
Exactly.
You don't want to learn the lesson. Let me give you something. You learn the lesson. So some people learn voluntarily. Other people learn by being forced to, and I completely understand.
Yeah.
Although I would say, probably knowing you now, you probably would have found your way without the additional having the additional hardship put on you. So
Well, thank you.
like we don't want to say that hardships are good, but hey, I
Yeah,
love your outlook that you're basically taking the best of it and saying like, hey, the thing has been as hard as it is, it has taught me some things that allowed me to be
yeah.
successful and still take care of everything. And you're grateful for that. And that is rare to see. And that is very, very beautiful. So,
Thank you.
so thank you for being on the show with us, with me today. What can we do for you? Like, what would you like to share with our
Yeah.
audience? Any links, any kind of things, resources, anything? How can people get a hold of you if they're in Denver? Obviously, they need to hire you and bring you, get you
Exactly.
list their properties. But what can we do for you?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. And honestly, I'll give you the best way to reach me. But anyone out there that is going through something challenging, if you ever need an ear, if you need, tactics, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I think that is another gift that this unfortunate illness has given me is to have a platform that I'm able to connect with people, and my goal really is to help other people get through whatever challenge they're facing. Of course, if you're in the Denver or anywhere in Colorado for the most part, I would love to assist you with any of your real estate needs. So the best way to get a hold of me is to go to my website because it's got my phone number, email, Instagram, all my socials. Would love to connect, and that is www.athena, Athena Brownson, Brownson, Realtor, Realtor.com. So feel free to reach out, and again, I would love to connect with anyone, and I appreciate the opportunity to chat. And please send my love to your wife because I get it.
Absolutely, I will. Thank you very much. And with that said, guys, thank you very much, and thank you, Athena, for being
Thank
here
you.
with us, with me, like me and my multiple personalities, like I like to say.
Me too. It's
Thank
okay.
you for being here with me. And that concludes another episode of the Jack Bosch Show. Again, if you guys, we're going to put all the links and all the things in here. Also, if you have interest, again, if want to know about this doctor research, just hit me up directly. I'd be ideally on social media. I'll be happy to share it. I'm not going to put it out openly here. I don't think the doctor wants that, but if on a personal basis, I'm happy to share that. Again, there's nothing in it for me. So with that said, thank you as always. Give us that 5-star review. Go take a moment, go pull up iTunes, go give a 5-star review or any other of the other platforms. Share it with your friends. And with that said, that's a wrap. Thank you very much.